Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to StarCraft 2. Today I have a unique some gameplay I want to talk about. We are going to be watching Dark versus Maru, first on Stargazer, I believe it's called. And we're going to watch it specifically through Dark's perspective. I am a Zerg player, so this is mostly a beneficial thing for me, but I wanted to share my experience. Right off the start, we see that he's sending his overlords out, probably towards the natural. Second overlord's going towards the pervert pillar outside of his natural, just for scouting proxies, the normal stuff. But already the things that I noticed is his hotkeys. 1, 5, and 6 are his hatches. 7 and 8 are overlords number 1. Doing 16 hatch, setting up his camera locations. All normal stuff. I'm actually very curious about how he keeps his queens, and specifically about how he does his how he gets up his base establishments, because you do have the easy access third that has the 2 sets of 10 minerals. That's four workers, a small price to pay, but it's a very important thing. Does a 17 pool, no gas, so he's actually going gasless expansions, which is very interesting already. I think this is already a more unorthodox style. Typically we always see gas being taken as well, but like I said, he wants a very quick third. Interesting enough that he sends out his workers specifically to out of their eggs to the expansion. That's actually really important to take notes on. Even the fourth one's going out. Immediately starting to see if there's any funny business going on. Sees workers being built already, has an idea that something is not cute. It might be just one, might be two. Assuming it's two, since we saw 2 workers. No boys are pulled yet, but he does know that he has to worry about it. This obviously protects him. He's not too worried about his expansion, since he does have a backup expansion. Simply making some workers and a queen. Sees nothing to worry about and his house to take out his overlord. Decides to continue the scouting while this is all going on. He's just casually farming up. Still making his workers, his warriors, saving as many as he can. He's already going to lose one. I think he's kind of accepted that. And yeah, it looks like he's just accepting it. It's a small blunder, or really, yeah, it's a bit of a small blunder. Wasn't sure how else to phrase it. Trying to save the queen as fast as he can. Pretty solid save. I like that he gets his creep up. He gets a creep tumor up. I guess that's to recapture the area once he's able to push forward. I think that's a very cute idea, using the broodlings to trying to do some damage. This is obviously going to get repaired. Not much damage, but he is min-maxing as much as he can. This is a really unique scenario. We don't typically see very often. I think it's mostly because it is a new map and people are trying to be cheesy but still be cute, or still play standard by being as cute as possible. So honestly, as much as this is, I don't think that was actually this is probably one of the worst sets of maps for Maru's type of playstyle, where he's a very aggressive bash you in the face kind of scenario. Using a barracks for high ground since he has 2. Jesus. Yeah, so he's just trying to see what's up. He sees that it is a pretty standard thing. He obviously can make the assumption that taking third, taking the back pocket base. So I do like this. This is a pretty safe opening. I think Dark handled this very informatively about the map knowledge, and how the map is very much catered to a more defensive playstyle, like a 3cc build. So that this way he's able to walk away with, or get away with, a lot more for a lot less. And honestly, he didn't lose much. Only 1 hatchery, which again was already replaced. This is a fantastic opening for him for what the gameplay turned out to be. So yeah, pretty much nothing special is going on for him right now. There is a dropship moving in, but not much to be worrying about. It's only 8 marines and a medevac. He has queens to tickle away the medevac, and lings to eat away. Yeah, pretty cash money. Oh, 1 HP though. That hurts. That hurts a little bit. Maru's not exactly, I would say, it's in a healthy feeling. These types of map styles are very much against Maru's particular playstyle of just being a blunt force trauma type player, which is not a bad thing. It's just he's doing the same strategy that worked on all the traditional base maps are very much out of the window. And right now, we actually see that Dark doesn't have a lot of information. However, he is able to make an educated guess that he's in a very powerful position just by the fact that, quite frankly, it was only one medevac that's pushing out. It was a double, it was two racks proxied. Yeah, not exactly much to worry about. Canceled the Baneling Nest, swapped it over into a Roachborn. I don't think that's something an average player obviously would do, but this is a player that's top caliber, GSL winner, I believe, as well. Now, say anything but sees that it's only 2 bases currently still on Maru's side. Took the back pocket base again, safe play. 3 CCs I think is a potentially powerful strategy on this particular map. Another drop is coming in, but we do not see it yet. Alright, in the house. He acknowledges it on his minimap, which is actually very interesting. A lot of these pro players, I'm noticing, and this is even from like League of Legends and whatnot, they don't actually spend a lot of time watching the main game, like what we see. They actually are mostly watching their minimaps from what I'm noticing, and seeing that from how he's even behaving. Obviously, I don't have access to his mouse clicks themselves, but we can make the inference based upon, his purple map is showing little red blips, and he's just clicking to where they're potentially going. I think that's pretty smart. Third CC's out, dropping a changeling in, trying to see what we got in store. Sees Rax's factory. I think a second. Nope, just some Raxes and one of each of the gas buildings. Sees that the second base is already built, which is fine. Yep, gets a nice clear taste of what's in the house. Working on his 4th expansion already. He's in a very powerful position. He's going Roach Ravager Ling, which is a choice. It's a very difficult choice to make work. But I'm sure Dark had a good idea of what the value for it, or at least a calculated value. Especially since he has to worry about drops so much. It's obviously very annoying to worry about those things. Can't imagine how much is going through his head. Oh, gets the cancel. That's actually very important. That 300 minerals really do add up if you keep losing hatches like that. So very well played by him on that. So replaces the 4th build, building a 5th as well. Just bowling a full Zerg strategy of grow and expand. Combat shield finishing up from Maru, as we're knowing. But the creep spread is looking very healthy for what a rough start this was, even though it wasn't a capital loss. Surprised we haven't seen Infestation Pit is actually almost done, so we're actually really on time for like a 9-minute, for what feels like a 9-minute hive tech. Jesus. But honestly, his spending is so rampant. It's quite impressive, really. Plus 2 Carapace is starting, 1 melee, so I guess he's starting to transition over to a more Ling Bane style. Centrifugal hooks are also in production as well. Sees the combat marines and across his tumors. I think that was actually also something was spotted on an overlord that was sniped off. Not 100% sure. So yeah, we're in the making of a standard gameplay. Tumors on the top right side are just getting out of control. All right, Bio's expanded. Base just finished, but the queens are here. Pretty simple deflection. Not much for Maru to pick up on. So he just pulls out. So honestly, right now, I think in this position, I can't imagine Diamond Masters players even mucking this up. This is a very commanding lead for Dark right now. Almost maxed out, but more importantly, he's just playing the game, waiting for Maru to step onto the creep, and then going to brawl on the creep. He's in a bit of a technology inferiority. Roach Ravager is not the most desirable thing. It's very interesting about how he keeps his he actually keeps his upgrades on separate on a key itself. I know a lot of players don't do that in general. Has some queens at home for injections, but I think he keeps a mass majority of them on the on his queen key. Like, I think they're all rallied there. And he just because we haven't seen much of his injecting yet. Yeah, we haven't seen any of his injections yet, which is either impressive that he's spending his larva like a Brood War player, or I'm very slow and I'm missing it. Oh no, there it is. So he keeps them all hockeyed, and he does a fat finger of checks with his camera locations. So I'm actually surprised that he does that, because I know, for example, players like Vibe, Serral, I think Rainer as well, they actually have designated injectors. Cracklings 3 and 5 transports are being made. Plus, he's going for the Ling drops, Lings and Pocket Full of Banes. Okay, so he's going for an old school strategy, which is I'm happy to see. They haven't been used at all since, from what I understand, since Legacy of the Void, really. I haven't seen much of it until recently. Finally acknowledges that there's ghosts and tanks are out too, but Blinding Cloud and the tanks, as well as his Corrosion Vials. Oh, fantastic Vials. Gosh, what a staple of damage. Good gracious, that was pretty good. And then as well, topping off with the Ling drops, just evacuating the main, taking out everything at home, getting some pockets on. Crackling is done. So these are some cocaine Lings. Yeah, and Dark is now in the spot of just being an annoying asshole. Holy moly, the fact that he's burrowing and ripping up things that he can find, getting Ghost, that cloak, that's actually pretty important. Getting a cloak off like that, that does chew through their energy. I'm sure Maru won't let that happen all the way, but it is something that's being chewed away at. I noticed that a lot that Dark doesn't saturate all of his gases right now. He's a little starved, but he is spending so much that I'm sure it's mostly from his spending habits. At the same time, though, it's just like he is, he's not banking his gas. He's not looking to accumulate it all as fast as possible. I'm sure that's mostly a bad habit that I'm thinking of, that I do. But I would assume that you want to buy Vipers, you want to buy Banelings, Festers if you're really brave. Evacuation of the boys and the Warriors, deciding to take out the rocks as well, but just getting as much damage as possible. This is a fantastic kill. GG, Maru loses game 1. That was fantastic. Alright, game 2. A Tropical Sacrifice. That was a very interesting game out of from Maru doing a proxy racks with a pocket base and not take. I don't think he took that really into account. Although I do understand that 2 proxy is a little bit of a gotcha thing, and he's very good at recovering from those. But Dark just really playing it slow. Took the map up. He didn't fight. He didn't try to deny bases. He just said, "Fuck it. I'm going to build up, and I'm going to push out when I have my tech that I want." And that's and he only fought on creep until the very end, and then did a 2-prong attack with a Ling drop in the back pocket. So I'm very excited to see what game 2 has. Maru is down behind 1 game. Honestly, on a best of, I think it's a 7 set, I think it's very fine that you do these aggressive styles, especially on game 1 if you are a player that wants to do that. So, quite frankly, I was very happy to see that. I now have learned quite a lot from specifically Dark. He keeps his upgrades on 7-ish, I think 6 or 7. Queens are also on the Kotkey adjacent to his hatchery. Hatchery's obviously being on, I think he just prefers 5 in general. So now we see a more standard game out of him. So quite frankly, now that I think about it, Dark didn't just go gasless for any particular for a very specific reason, because Maru is a very proxy favored player. It's a very easy prediction to make that he's going to do it at some point, and I don't know if he does it consistently on full set games, but as we saw here, he just went hatch gas pool as opposed to hatch pool and gas later on. So definitely was catering or playing some gambits with Maru's brain. So that's actually very cool to see. Decides to take a slow gas expansion, or decides to take a slow grabbing on his gas, favoring of getting his 28 hatchery much sooner, which is a small deviance, but I'm sure that does add up quite a bit. It's mostly because he just wants more larva with queen production, I guess. I don't know yet. We're gonna see how that plans out. First sets of queens are out. Farthest one farthest one goes out to plant the tumor, and a very simple game so far. Nothing too spicy. No proxies yet that we're being detected from. I do like the choice that Dark made. Again, this is mostly a stylistic problem about dealing with a player like Maru. He sends First Overlord out towards the northwest side of the map, then links it over to see if there's anything special going on. I think that's probably from his practice against Terrans to figure out where proxy locations are. And then he has his other sets of overlords outside of his net, just past his bases to where his creep is not yet seated. And fourth overlord is actually heading out to the far right side, just to check for any drops that are coming in. These are all, I think those 3 spots are probably stuff that a lot of players, especially at the higher MMR brackets, should be more curious about, especially keeping things so that they don't deal with those same shenanigans. Yeah, pretty simple stuff. He actually keeps his queens on 4. That's unique. So he does actually have designated larva injectors and queen and regular queen and standard creeping queens. That's actually very important to keep track of as the game goes on and that number keeps growing. At this point right now, it's mostly a very passive game. We actually haven't seen anything out of Maru yet. I'm gonna do my best to not acknowledge the production tab, simply because I don't want people to realize that he's getting a Raven. They drop in some White Widow mimes. That's unique. Also with a 2-prong attack, using the Hellions in the front to catch off, I think, the drones that we might have been transferring over. Following off, having to address it with a pocket full of queens. I think Lings were sent into the front. Yep, they were eventually pulled away. I actually like this response at him. He effectively didn't acknowledge the attack at home or in his house. You know, he dealt with it as it needed, but once that was done, he put all of his worries into those Hellions, made sure that they didn't pick up any unnecessary worker kills. That's actually very, very impressive decision making out of Dark. Alright, starts scouting season. Widow mines are going in to take out an Overlord. Poor Larry. Jeez. And Raven's coming in. He even acknowledges it and puts over his 4. Still throws it down the cannon, the auto cannon. But honestly, again, great deflection. Nothing serious happened for him. I think he lost only about 2 or 3 drones at most. And again, plus 1/1 are about to be finished. Hasn't teched up yet, but he is droning like a madman. Just began starting his lair. I think he's going to start taking the farther away base for his 4th. I think that probably will provide more protection from being dropped in and out on his bases. Oh no, I take it back. He doesn't mind that. All right. He's got a little bit more APM to spare than I do. Gee, that's obviously for sure. So 1-1 is about three-quarters of the way done, and at this point right now, he's still pretty minimum on army supply. He's just droning up quite a bit, replacing the creep tumors, but he is actually using the lings that he does have to deflect any potential drops that come in on the bit of the dead airspace. So this is all actually really interesting stuff to be keeping track of. He keeps a small pair there to. And takes a takes an attachment for it. Sees that not much is coming in the way until he finally sees the tank and the Marines. I don't think they have combat shield yet, no, but they do have their drug and they do have the adrenaline. Zergling's coming around trying to eat out the tank. Tank done, thank God. Oh, that actually would have been devastating if that tank stayed. And it's really important that he continues that. Got his upgrades as well. 2-2 is on the way as well. Very fast, very decisive decision making. Queens are actually sniping off medevacs as safely as possible. 5th base is being built at the same time. So while this is actually a lot of stuff going on, it's very important that we take away the fact that while he's dealing with the stress of the attack, he's still setting up scenarios that he has a 4th gas location. As we see, he's basically sacking one. We're going to ignore that ling run by right now, as that's just being an annoying ratty behavior. Back coming in now to take out the tank, which is probably just as important. The triple Poo's only halfway done. Don't think this is going to go very well for our Zerg player here, because he's going to die in one hit to siege tanks. Autocannons is being taken out. Still waiting for the Zergling pack to have an opportunity to run in, but it is being acknowledged by Maru. Has to pull away. And all this is going on, getting some injects off, but he's still just buying as much time as he can. And at this point right now, it's mostly just trying to dance while playing a dancing game. So once that centrifugal hooks are done, he's going to pull the trigger, gets a nice backstab off, is doing as much as he can. About to finish any second now. Jesus. Unhealthily, an anxious amount of time is being passed on it. +2 is almost done as well. But the fact of the matter is he still gets on top of the tanks, but the Queens are being sniped off for a little bit of boxing. This is not going to go very well for Zerg just because there's too much Terran, really. It's almost a Zerg amount of Terran. I can't imagine this is, GG. Very well played by Maru. Alright, this is game 3. It is 1-all. Terran had a very powerful push, 3-tank push, and quite frankly, Dark didn't have information on that. Yeah, that whole game, he just could not get he didn't get a pocket in, a small little pocket of knowledge in to help understand what was coming in his way. Quite frankly, I think that was very well played by Maru, especially from like the Zerg's perspective. We didn't really get much information. I'm not sure if that was just a default of Dark not getting the information, or if it was mostly because Maru was being very annoying between the drops, using Vikings to deny pocket his vision off the left side where the dead space was for Terran's side of the map. Anyways, so game 3 we have Inside Out, Casual 16, Hatchery, nothing too spicy yet, and honestly, yeah, that was just a very solid, crisp timing out of Terran. Didn't push, got the attack off right before the centrifugal hooks finished. So Banelings didn't get their +5 and their roly-poly ability. All right, so looks like Dark is going for a much more boring play of hatch gas pool, and still following a trend of using his first Overlord to scout for proxies, second Overlord as well. So these are definitely things that are stylistic choices for the player, which it's I personally like. I think that's a very nice thing that he's playing the player, not the game itself, in a bit of a cliche manner. So at this point right now, this particular map is interesting. I think it has a pretty medium-ish size rush distance. but you can still do things like 5 roach openings, or you can not really 12 pool, obviously, but the bridges become quite a problem. The Terran is going to be susceptible to Baneling mines or lurkers if we decided to see hidden lurkers, like some crazy brood war fashion. Getting 20H hatch on his closer side. Interesting. I'm always curious why, honestly, why Zerg takes the closer one, especially on Terran against Terran, because of the drop play is just so it's pretty obnoxious. But at the same time, it is the closest one that it is easiest to reinforce between running back and forth than it is to run from the center to the right side down this ramp. Maru hasn't revealed his gas yet to Dark. Now it is being revealed. And Maru hasn't done any Reaper plays, but he is trying to deny as much information as possible, pestering the Overlord away with a single Marine. So I think that might tip him off a little bit, that he's going to be expecting something a little stinky. But obviously you can see it above that it's something a little bit similar to the previous game. But we're going to do our best to try to figure out how we get there. I think we just saw him placing his Overlord movement outside of his second to see drops coming in from the off angle, since he is already moving the newest one towards the between his third and first. Again, this is all the spot out drops and potential, which is again very interesting to keep track of. He only has 2 of his queens on his hotkeys, even though I think he has about 4 now. I'm not 100% sure. Pretty sure those were the 2 that we just saw. And so at this current point, it's a pretty standard, simple thing. He's droning up like a madman, prepping his roaches. I guess that's to deflect if it's, I don't know, maybe a Hellion flood. I'm not 100% sure why he's so consistent with getting this roach horn. This is the third game actually. Holy shit! Yeah, this is the 3rd game that he's pulled it out. Oh no, I'm sorry, he didn't get it in game 2. So this is the 2nd game. I take that back. Hellion Marine drops with the same thing as last time. If it ain't broke, not fixed, the problem. Only gets 2 kills. That's not great. It's okay, actually. It's, I actually wasn't watching the minimap, so I completely missed it. I would have lost an insane amount more. See a bunker being made, trying to get inside. Holy shit. Sees the tech lab, sees 3rd CC, realizes there's something being built at home that he should keep note of. So, fantastic read. And the roaches are now going to pay dividends. Sees that there's quite a few Hellions, and he's now... I think they're getting picked up. Yeah, they are. Wow. Maru, dirty dog. Jeez. The pocket full of roaches are now being evicted back home. In fact, they're not even gonna make it. I think they're just gonna be bodied down. Wow. Well played by Maru reacting to Dark's position. I think he probably just saw no, he didn't see the roach horn. Right? It's at the natural. Huh. I guess he just had a feeling about it. Anyway, so he spots the banshees. He actually sees the banshees. Finally, has the spore colonies being built. This is all gonna be in time. Nothing too spicy about that. Again, he's still just droning up. I think he's at a very healthy number. He's at a kind of a two-prong. I think this is clearly just trying to be a distraction to get some, trying to get some damage in. Clearly Mario wanted to slip some Hellions in, but that wasn't going to happen. The queens didn't bite the bullet. So now we're just watching as Dark's pulling out some Roach Ravagers. There's no way he's going to continue it, right? He's not going to go Roach Ravager Ling Bane. It's just a tickle. It's just a tickle. 4th base is finally being built. Hasn't taken a 5th one yet. He's going to do that in a few seconds, hopefully, because that seems to be a tendency. Getting his roach speed. I actually don't know the name of the upgrade. Guile Reconstitution. Interesting. 2 hits. getting us to Banshee's being tickled in. Lost camera focus. Sorry about that. Trying to snipe off the trying to snipe off the Banshee. Just being denied. Queens. Oh, trying to answer the. Oh, gets the pick off. That is an insane thing. He's trying to answer the 16 Marines, but he decides to tax him instead. Oh, the Queen and their royal decree. Picking off some Marines, that's always a nice added, but the fact that he gets the 200 gas like that is so important. The Banshee's has not put its name in stone yet for its cost. It's only been really at this point just tickling. Hasn't gotten any significant damage. It's very important that he doesn't lose them now at this point. But yeah, it looks like he's continuing the trend of going roaches into 1-1 with melee upgrades, which is very interesting. I actually haven't seen this that out of other players before. It really is just maybe Bois, but that's even he doesn't do it like that. Baneling Nest is now being built as well. Plus 1-1 is halfway done. I'm sure he has that all mapped out. Siege tanks are up. He's actually spreading out his Roach and Ravagers, trying to deny as much splash damage as possible. Picking off the first set of tanks with the almost got a never mind. First, second, third medevac, I think that is. Goes down. Tanks dropping as well. Gets a fourth one as well. Marauders are showing up to break some knees. This is all very desperate situation for our Zerg buddy here. Don't think he walks away from this. No, this is going to be taxed entirely away. There's just too much damage. +2's just starting for Terran. That's actually very important to note that the +1 Carapace isn't completed yet. Just about to finish. Biles haven't been launched out yet, but he's using the roaches with the +0. Okay, there we go. +1 is just finishing. That actually makes it very different about the damage that they can take. Holy moly. The damage decrease is insane now. And at this point, he's able to pull the trigger and fight a little bit more. And I cleaned it up as best as he can. Does lose the hatchery, but doesn't matter as much. He was in a position where that once he was able to stabilize, he's now going to bounce back much harder. Decides to get +2 melee. I actually completely disagree with that. I know he probably has a very justified reason for it, but the +1 Carapace, as soon as that gets started, it pays itself back faster than +2 melee. But I'm probably very much wrong about that. I think it's more of my Brood War brain kicking in with this. Oops, Jesus Christ. Jesus, I'm so sorry. At this point right now, he sees he sees the Terran pushing across above his fourth, but it's really just clean up. And I like this. He's trying to spread out, expand as much as he can, getting his fifth base, getting some insane information going off. Sees a base floating off towards the fourth location. That finally loses it, but he's now just deciding he's gonna have to pull some sort of trigger. Instead, he's being shot at by the Terran. Files are going off and trying to get some value. Link's getting the backstab off, trying to pick off the tanks. Gets one. That's actually really good. Any tanks that he can keep out of the fight permanently is a huge bonus. Yeah, this is a fantastic spot. Haven't seen his Queen injects yet, so he might be injecting through his minimap. I'm not sure if he can do that. So he was actually manually targeting the Marines themselves and trying not to detonate his veins on the Marauders so that they get the full damage. Hive is finally complete with I guess I should say the Viper is finally complete. +2 is just nearly done. Fourth base is being denied again, but he has a backup. This is fine. Baneling's mediocre things after the first set. Jeez, he's in a real tight space. I started to see why Dark really likes the Roach Ravager. The Biles are so strong at just forcing micro out that it forces the micro out, but if there's just too many Marauders and there's siege tank involved, the game gets a little too dicey. And you're not getting your bang for buck, even with the Vipers to assist. So that was game 3. Well played. Alright, game number 4. An insane series, even though we are going backwards. Maru decides to take a very powerful push. I guess this was the first time we saw the last game was the first time Dark had shown the 8 plus, or yeah, 8 or 6 in a Widow Mine, something like that. So going in reverse, doing a little bit very differently. Once again, though, jeez, what a game, what a series of games. I don't know how to feel about it now that I know I'm watching it in reverse. Alright, so Dark is sending out his Overlord in a standard way. Second Overlord's checking for proxies. First one's heading out to check for anything hot and trendy. So, with that being said, I think it's very clear that Dark has a tendency of keeping his upgrade chambers on his hotkeys. Although that last game got so hectic he couldn't even get to it. And on top of it, he tries to keep his queens all rallied together, but I'm not sure how he does his. I'm not 100% sure how he does his injections. I think he's doing it through his mini map, and I'm not 100% sure. It's very different to how some other players do it, where they use camera locations with designated queen injectors. So those are all very interesting difference that'll the pro players have, that separates them characteristically. So with all this going on, last game was insane. It's been very strong. I'm starting to see why he likes the Ravagers. It obviously forces a lot of micro, and if it does deal quite a bit of damage, it's like 60 damage or so, which is you need like 3 or 4 per tank, and especially if they get clumped up, that's pretty nice to catch. He actually saw the Reaper. It was very quick, about 3-ish frames or so, it felt like, and he immediately adjusted his Overlords to go take a little bit of a round peek around. He has actually done this so consistently. He rallies his workers to the net, but the ones that do go to gas, it's so delayed. He's doing this so he can actually get his his third hatch slightly faster and slightly quicker in terms of the drone can plant itself. He just fired a 3cc, impressively didn't lose any of his Zerglings. And I'm actually curious with this. I know, obviously, we see right here that he's reacting to the Reaper with his queens and lings. I'm always curious what stops a Zerg player, and this is again more of a Masters 3 Diamond 2-ish problem, where I can just walk over and force the Reaper to come home. I'm sure there is a simplified reason. However, I do understand the fact that, like, I want to keep him out of house. I can just, throw a queen at him and beat him down, and I could potentially get a worker or two, or I can, in some cases, in particular with this map, you could even take control of the watchtowers, which really does pay itself off. So he's continuing his queen production, pumping out 3 at a time now, which is very, very powerful. Queen's probably one of the best units in the game, even with all their nerfs. Specifically now that they can't give transfusions off creep, which is very depressing, but understandable. And speed's about to be complete. This is again a more standard, boring play. Hasn't taken his second and third gas yet, which is a little out of place. He's usually pretty quick to start when he decides to do that. Pretty standard stuff. All gases, all cylinders are firing. Looks like he's preparing to just begin his 1-1 upgrades. because he is dropping both of his Evo chambers pretty quickly for the last couple of games that we've seen of him. So he got spotted by the Viking, which I actually think gave more information away. As we were noticing, he's dropping his some colonies out. Could be thinking of Banshee, but probably thinking it could be also Liberator. I mean, in actuality, it's probably like, oh, there's something coming. Can't really make a guess. Does see the Hellion and Reaper. Again, he's not reacting with all of his queens, so I think what he's doing is in the beginning, he only has 2 queens for creeping, and the rest are defensive, static, almost static defense-like, which is very, very interesting. 1-1's quarter of the way complete, which is very important as well. Getting his lair tech, it still keeps just droning up. As he's saturating. Hasn't done 3-base saturation yet. He's really just taking it slow and steady. I guess he's not indecisive, but he doesn't have a reason to begin the tech or to prepare for it, specifically because he doesn't have his lair done. Starts saying a lot of things. Here's the click with the battle cruiser showing itself in such a way. Transfusion. First one's complete. Second one's complete. Very nice. Third transfusion going off. He's almost out of gas on those, but he is deflecting. Hasn't thrown the lings in yet, mostly because they'll just be vaporized. He's using the queens specifically as a way of he's using the zerglings as a way of just deflecting it if he needs to. That's actually super. I actually think that's very characteristic. A lot of players will go for surrounds or try to do Warcraft 3 holds, and we just see Dark is holding back. All right, queens. Figured it out. Puts all his queens on 8. I was thinking it was something else. Sorry, just completely derailed. But yeah, so like I said, he's has a small detachment for defense, and he's using the rest for backstabs. Immediately throws down the infestation. That's actually a very important detail. That means he wants to get out his not fungals, but he wants to get out his vipers. Sees that as a lot of Hellions, as they startled for a second. Roaches, once again, coming out. Very characteristic, although in this case, it's very much justified. So yeah, it's just, he's actually cut the tail on the droning procedure right now. I guess he's in the mood that he needs to start establishing a little bit more of a defensive posture, trying to take out his gonna want to take out these Hellions. Keeping a pocket full of banelings on the side. I like that. Trying to keep the He's trying to keep the watchtower. Reaper is being a little obnoxious. Unfortunately, the banelings get absolutely dunked on by the tank, since they don't have their 5 HP bonus. Alright, Larry and the boys, or Ricky and the boys, are being built. He realizes the mech composition, mostly by the size of those Hellion counts, as well as getting a Nidus canal. Nidus chamber. I love it. Obviously, that gives a lot of mobility to. Lenny and Brenda are here, or Ricky and Brenda. Okay. I wasn't expecting that much, but I do like this. He's setting up he's just setting up a protective nest for his swarm hosts who run about like a bunch of little goblins. Very, very simple and very basic style. Please don't walk away like that. Just go home. You can go home in a very normal manner. Alright, Ricky's being asked to move around quite a bit. Unfortunately, second chamber is being denied by the battle cruiser. Honestly, it's not that costly. They're very cheap for what they provide. I'm personally not a big fan of the chamber. I feel like you get a lot more mobility out of if you use like dropper lords, but he is trying to set up a pushing procedure as opposed to doing a little bit of a doomsayer. Again, I'm not a fan. That's a little scary playing these all-in styles. Gosh, Alright, Ricky trying to get some more damage, tanking out one tank. I think it's going to get at least 2 and 3. 3, yep, there we go. 2's done. 3 might be? No, 3 hasn't happened. Doesn't have the queens to basically do injections, which is... it's very weird. I actually find it very strange that how many times players are always advocating for injections, but, you know, as we see here, Dark is a little bit against the norm, and he's injecting, lack of injecting, really. But he is setting up a lot of plays, especially with his free units, so it's understandable. There is a understandable difference. He sees the battle cruisers pushing in, trying to figure out how that's going to progress. Ends up, I think he loses actually, but he is trading it for quite a bit of tanks. Pretty sure they have Yamato cannon. This is a little bit of a tight spot for Zerg, because he does have to address this without potentially losing too much. As you see here, in fact, Maru's actually taxing him quite a bit. He's forcing a lot. He's actually forcing quite a lot out of Dark, and he doesn't have a proper defense setup for it. He's trying to abuse Ricky and his gang, but at the same time, he's able to punish the Zerg for Ricky and putting the queens out. Really, it's actually more important that the queens are out like this. It doesn't even matter about the supply density of Ricky. But currently, right now, we just see that the Jesus Christ, taking out a planetary, trying to split, getting about 13 workers is very impressive, and he's pushing in at the same time. Brenda and the gang are trying to defend, pulling away. Oh my God, that's a fat nut. That is a very, very nice bile to answer to those to answer the battle cruisers, picking off an additional one. Honestly, that wasn't bad for Zerg. I think that almost the most perfect response. Obviously, he's going to lose something, but he was very, very adamant about not giving up his land, and he actually taxed him for it, or punished him for it. Whatever phrasing you want to take away from this. All right, pulling out some of the corruptors to deal with the Broodlord. As bad as corruptors are, they are probably the only true answer that we have, that Zerg unfortunately has, unless we decide to see some gangster neural parasites. These just fired off the Yamato cannons, but really, honestly, Jesus Christ, ghost snipes going off. Didn't even see it on dark screen. That didn't give it away, and now I don't know what will. All right, Ricky, sending the gang back in. Ghosts are back out, trying to pick off some more tanks. It's really important that he keeps that going. Doesn't have any Thors anti-air yet, except for the sniping, which I think he would honestly want to save it for the Ravagers. They're far more expensive and provide. They actually can hit both ground and air unintentionally. This is such a very strange game for. I think this is more of a strange game for Dark. He has more of a tendency of taking a brick and throwing it at your opponent if he needs to, than to play this passive style of throwing some boys at him. Yeah, as we can see, he's preparing some Banelings, which, I mean, Banelings, a bit of a head miss, especially against mech. You need them for the Hellions, but at the same time, they're very expensive for what they're worth and how much you need cost efficiency against mech. It's not quite like in Brood War, where if you're fighting mech in Brood War, you just need queens, or you just need to deny as many bases as physically possible without throwing yourself out the window. So yeah, currently right now he's just doing his best to keep Brenda and Karen, I think it was one corruptor at home. Gets the pick off and pulls out. Doesn't really have to do much expenditure out of Maru. This is effectively just a slow game of attrition, and Maru is on the edge. So this particular game comes down to how fast can he wait, or how long can Dark wait? That's all he needs to do effectively. Yeah, just keep denying it. As long as he just keeps losing his fourth gas section, it's a pretty tight spot for Terran. especially with all the ghosts that he's gonna need. I mean, this is gonna be really important. The ghosts are incredibly important, and the fast snipes off, taking out a few Ravagers. It's all very important stuff right there. I mean, it is one of those rough scenarios. And wow, he's starting to get some fungal or plus 25 energy for his infestors. Yeah, because it's just getting to the point that he has so much money, and he's playing with a free unit dependent unit at this point that he just has to play it slow. Doesn't even matter. He'll get so much more value by developing fungal growths, or even if he gets some parasites off, which I don't think will happen just because of the detection is going to be around. But yeah, so this is actually a setup for a very unique game, and he's just every second that it's available, he's just throwing more Ricky boys at him. Oh my goodness, yeah, I think it's gotten to the point that he lifted off a base out of Dark, and this is probably the most exciting that I've seen Swarm hosts use, and as boring as they are, they do provide quite a bit of power at buying time. They're seriously one of the best units in the game for what they do, of just stalling. You know, Terrans, I don't think they have a very hard time dealing with it, but this is the price you're paying to go mech. You chose to play it slow and to play Turtle. So, quite frankly, this is the answer that Zerg is forced to give, since any other answer is pretty Terran favored. Alright, more Roach Ravagers and Queens with a touch of Banelands. However, I don't like that particular trade, as we just saw. That was pretty expensive. Losing Queens, pretty full HP Queens like that. That's not an acceptable loss. Oh no, they're invisible and they're being spotted and they were discovered Ricky. Oh no. Oh, poor Ricky. They're all dying. And at this point, it's so efficient for him that he's not injecting. He's just cashing in when he needs to. We just heard a ping go off. I'm not sure where that was. All right, looks like it was back at home. Yeah. So here we go. Back to it. He's running low. He's replacing Ricky's. He only has like what, 16 or 12 of them or so? No, it's about 16. They're being swallowed whole. But yeah, this is a very slow game. I'm very curious why he doesn't throw in some overseers to get proper knowledge, but I'm sure he just knows about where the state of the game is so much that he can put 2 and 2 together. Yeah, and at this point, the amount of income that Maru has is, I'm pretty sure, effectively just one base. Because he can't really afford, to lose much. Oof, that hurts quite a bit, but again, this isn't expensive at all for Dark. He's just very much in control of the situation. Yeah. Oh my god, the amount of ghosts there are. Plus 3 carapace and 3 air ranges now being built, which is pretty sure for Brood Wars. Yeah, I was right. The income is so tiny now at this point that it's effectively one base. Lings and Banes are just chasing their desired targets. Tank Denial tanks were just denied entirely.
Mineral field depleted.
Yeah, now he's starting to get the Overseers, which is important, and numeric carapace. This is a very slow and well played game out of Dark. I'm very happy to see this. God, so many Banes are being built. Goodness gracious. And there's only so much you can talk about with this particular game style because it's a little slow, it's a little dry. currently, right now, we're just waiting for Ricky to recharge. And the Banelings are rolling in, taking out all the Hellions possible. Ghosts go invisible, but they are being spotted. And, oh, that's a lot of damage! I don't think they have +3 melee, though. That is important, though, because that they are, as they're being shown, they, you know, they're going to be targeted. They will be targeted by, never mind. It's all being denied again. It's a disaster. We're losing all of our house of production. Having to pull out some spore colonies just for to see where things are. Corruptors are being built. I feel like they should have been there prior. Gosh, battle cruisers are pretty. The cattle cruisers are pretty good. They are getting a lot of value out. So yeah, this is the peak of Valencia gaming, and the spore colonies are just suggesting, not really forcing, but they're just suggesting the battle cruisers to go home. But I think they have +3 armor, so they kind of shrug things off very minimally. All right, +3 air weapons is about to be complete for Zerg, which is if he could get the one shots off. If he could get the one shots off, then that'll be valuable. He's just trying to find damage at this point. It's very strange because it's pretty low economy for Terran. Jesus, it's actually quite a bit of damage that tank provides. Yeah, he's, you know, not much has changed for Zerg. Still at 188 over 200 to 150, 150 200. Gas income and mineral income is still basically one-sided. You know, when mules are not dancing. This is a pretty good spot still for Zerg. Just a little slower. As long as he can buy more time as possible, he'll be fine. God, there's so many ghosts. Decides to dive onto the tanks. He knows that if he can take out the tanks, he'll be fine. And he's just pumping out banelings like a madman. But I don't think he has. He doesn't have weapons, right? Oh no, he does. I'm so sorry. I'm a wrong guy. There we go. Fixed it. Alright, the Banes are rolling in, taking out some of the Hellions. Not exactly the most cost-efficient trade, but he is just trying to buy time. This game really is coming down to him just buying as much time as possible. He wants to get, he wants to salvage as much as he can for Ricky. Oh my god, the Banelings. I think that took out a few ghosts. I hope it did, at least. Because Banelings is trying to add up. The cost of them are not looking favorable for Zerg. It really is starting to come down to the game of pure attrition. Even if he has such an economy lead, losing Banelings doesn't exactly feel good if they're not paying for themselves. Yeah, we're actually getting to a point where gas income is becoming a little too spicy to worry about, to deal with. Okay, we're now losing a lot of resources. This went from feeling like a good game to like a dodgy game, and the ghosts are starting to pile up quite well. Oh, that's a travesty, losing his banelings to a wall. That hurts quite a bit, actually. This particular game is showing me just how rough it is to get the locusts to pay for themselves. So yeah, he is just targeting down the tanks. He knows that if once those are out of the way, he can take his brick and throw it at him, at Maru several times. Setting up another Bane run by. And again, it's only really one base economy again out of Maru. Like, Maru is not healthy. He's actually kind of starving. He's still at 150. He's still at 160. Hasn't been maxed out at all. And he keeps. God, the evacuation order is so upsetting. and it's buying him so much time for counterattacks. Ravens are being dropped out. The Raptors they now have free kills on the cattle bruisers. This is an important play out of him. Well played by Dark, setting up an impressive backstab, but he is going to lose quite a few of his corruptors, just because we have a MOBA character in SC2 with those ghosts. But very well done. That was actually a lot of damage put off on him. And again, Maru's losing resources to Dark. He's actually losing a base on his side of the map. That's incredibly important to take note in. Backstab is going off as well. Now he's actually forcing Maru into a Hail Mary position. He has to get damage done now. This is no longer of a game of I can push out to max out. He's just constantly losing workers. It's at this point, as you see here, he's being backstabbed, and Ricky is the only thing stopping him from pushing forward in his desired attack. A massive Bane detonation is about to go off, I believe. Yeah, 30 worker. We are now in the end game. Even deciding to take the piss on Maru. Ghosts are coming in to snipe off some of the units, but Ricky has just paid himself off. Yeah, this is no longer a game of, as we see here, this is no longer a game of waiting to max out. Maru is forced to pull the trigger with an unloaded gun. Some fumbles are now in play. That's very risky. Ricky is now getting his final volley, taking out some of the massive amounts of tanks. This is incredibly important to not lose. Fumbles going off. Doesn't catch the ghost, unfortunately, but he's not losing it. I'm pretty sure the ghosts are inside that medevac. Or inside the medevac. So this is no longer a game for Maru. This is a fight for his life. Yep, taps out. GG. So, Ricky and the boy. Alright. Moondance. Strong map. Very hard to... not quite as strong as Stargazer, where you get a free base. You get 12 minerals and 1 gas. So... half a base, really. I think that it's really more of a half a base, but it can set up specific timings, such as 5 gases. You can do mutalisks pretty easily if you want to do fast tech like that, or really if you wanted to get some more, if you wanted to get a few extra more widow mines out. That is another potential, and it's also a free location to put some orbitals. But this is a very basic game out of our guy. Oh! I'm sorry. He's going 16 speed. That's different, very different. Now, why would that be? Alright, now my ears are in full attention. It's getting his delayed hatchery. I am curious, though. I'm actually more curious about how pro players see this map, because you do get access to that base, but again, it's only 12 and 1 instead of getting a properly saturated map base. I think the players probably use it as backup, but you also need to keep an eye on it, because it is a hazard if you neglect it, since it becomes, free real estate for a walk-in. I would love to see if we eventually get players doing like proxies in the back base on your opponent. You play absolutely pure standard. Uh-oh! There's a Stargate in my house, in my backyard. Alright, Zerglings are out. Obviously, it was spotted by Maru that it's a very late pool hatchery. But he's getting his speed, and he's actually still gassing. What the heck? Yeah, even Maru's curious about what's going on. Alright, gets his injection off. Second Queen's already in production. I guess it's moving out forward. I'm trying to figure out where this is going. Because he only made 2 Zerglings in the beginning, just to tickle off the Reaper, I guess. Getting 2 more pairs. So Here we go. This is the one I was talking about. I'm very curious now what's going on. How this is gonna happen. Hasn't taken a third base yet, as we usually see. So he's okay. So he's fast teching, immediately going lair. So, what does that mean? That means we're looking at. I think we're going to be looking at Mutalisks. I think this is actually a Mutalisk game. Yeah, it is. He's getting his second gas off. I'm like 95% sure it's a Mutalisk play. Sees that he just finished up the base. Gets back. Getting a backstaff off. Sees this is 1-1-1 some Hellions. Nothing too spicy going on. But, unfortunately, he forced Maru to pull the Bois Marines. Marines are tickling away the remaining Zerglings. But, oh, he's going to get the Marine! That is so important! Oh, no! If this guy wants to be like Jadong, he's going to keep these Zerglings alive forever. Decides to try to pick off 2 more workers. That's like 4 workers that died. That's pretty good early on. Yeah, it is a Spire play. God bless it. That's very interesting because usually Spires you want a little bit more gas, but he's doing it all 4. So I'm actually curious how many are left and how he's gonna play with this, and how he's gonna be playing with this. This is clearly going to be a not much of a gotcha, I don't think, out of Dark, but it is going to be a little obnoxious to deal with. This isn't game ending, but he is actually behind a base. I want that to be kept noted. He's intentionally sacking a third expansion to get his Mutalisks out. Obviously, there's going to be some time before the full saturation kicked in, and it's also not a fully saturating base. It is going to add up. Immediately starts pumping out some of his Mutalisks. Got 5 in the bank. He's got 6 in the bank. All right, but he's not going to get +1, right? He's not +1. Okay, I'm thinking it from Brood War perspective again, where you want to get like 9 out. If you want to be safe about it, 11 as well. If you want to start one-tapping things. Clearly, my Diamond 2 brain is a little too smooth. Some typical hooves are in production as well, and now he's just pulling the trigger and going back to droning. I do like this. I hope we see more Mutalisk play. I know they're made of paper, and a lot of players dislike them. But God, do they provide so much harassment and they're so obnoxious to deal with. Especially if you babysit them, they can deal quite a bit of damage. Especially if you get free mules like this. If you get free mules like this. I'm a little bit of an advocate of targeting down the mules, but obviously he doesn't know the duration on them. Picking off as much as you can. 11 workers killed. God, it's pretty good. 13 workers killed is pretty darn good, especially with the fact that they have regenerating effect, and we're gonna get a few more. Oh, and a Viking. Okay. Oh, maybe not the Viking. 14 kills is quite a lot, though. That's indeed a sizable amount of damage. Picking off Marines here and there is just a caveat. 15. Yeah, and he's just keeping up more of the Mutalisk. It's very nice to see. And at this point right now, he's just basically playing like what 3 hatch Mutalisks in Brood War. You just keep your opponent at home while you just tech up. Obviously, Zerg had a little bit of easier time in StarCraft 2, but it's very cool to see that we're getting a little bit more harassing style out of Zerg as opposed to being the bitch in the Terran-Zerg relationship. So yeah, at this current point, you can see that Maru is still... He's actually been going tanks almost all game, even if we're playing in reverse. I'm curious about that. From what I understand, the
when typically when I understand Bio Ball requires more Widow Mines, just because the splash damage is pretty insane. All right, looks like plus one is almost. I think plus one actually finished for Maru. Gotta double check that in a hot second. Plus one Carapace is halfway done, but he does actually have the roly polies this time, so it's very important. He's actively keeping his Mutalisk on separate keys from the main army, so that they don't just run in, and that he can do these backstabs like that, picking off tanks here and there. Targeting down the Marines with his Marines, with his Lings and Banes. Mutalisk are constantly being on the side, just being a supporting character in the suicidal ambitions of the Zergling Banelings. Yeah, fourth base is also just finished. He's actually throwing in a few workers here and there, but currently right now he's in the position of I gotta start pumping out warriors. Plus two weapons air is halfway done for Zerg, which is very, very important. Yeah, just right now trying to fly around get the backstabs off, trying to just take out as much as he can safely, picking out medevac, and also just getting free damage off. The Marines had to run away from the Banelings, and he just gets free damage. 1, 2, I think. He gets a tank as well, which is very important, but the medevacs, I think, are the golden ticket here, personally, just because the healing factor is pretty insane. In fact, he's taking care of his Mutalisk and giving him blood transfusions. Very kind of him. I don't think many people would think of them like that. Yeah, this is a very strong position. Plus 2 is now starting for Maru. Yeah, quite late, honestly. Quite late. I know he was doing a very powerful timing attack, but plus he would actually be he would actually have such a powerhouse on his plus 2 with the amount of time that would have passed from then and now. Yeah, now Maru's actually is in the position where he has to be the bitch. 16 flying shrimps are flocking about, taking just being harassing and annoying. Nothing too spicy yet. Sees that there's no fourth and fifth gas yet, or sorry, fifth and sixth gas yet, or 6 and 7, whatever the hell we're up to. But yeah, this is very cool, very nice out of dark. Using the now starting to give them Carapace upgrades, which is actually showing a bit more of an all-in style with the Mutalisks, because they're made of paper, sure, but the upgrades on Carapace is always higher than weapons upgrades. So yeah, he's going to be banking on them for quite a bit. All right, he's actually starting to improve his mineral income, and his gas as well. I think actually he could actually be Hive right now. He actually could be Hive with gas to spare by going, if he is saturated sooner, which is a very hard thing to do with these scenarios. Losing a little bit of his Mutalisk flock. Trying to find a way of surrounding. He's actively just right-clicking his units around. Very, very scary. Tries to get a few kills off like that. Gets a nice catch with the. Jesus, I'm getting nauseous by watching this. Getting a nice pick on the Thor. Decides to backstab with the Mutalisk, since they can't really provide much forward. Carapace upgrades gets denied. Siege tanks putting in the value. Marines are just passively waiting as they get charged in by Banelings and Lings. Widow Mines being detonated. Oh god, the Mutalisks are flocking. Losing quite a bit. I think he lost about 9. And right now we're just waiting for Zerg to just defend itself. It's losing a hatchery, which seems to be quite a bit of theme in these later games. Zerg just can't hold out as much and just has to throw giant bricks like this. Hatchery doesn't fall though. That is insane. catches up, cleaning up the army now. It is a full rout out of Terran with Zerg on their heels. But he lost almost all of his Mutalisks. I don't care what you say. That was 2,800 resources in Mutalisks that just went out the window. More importantly, it was in gas. Plus two weapons is done for melee is done for Zerg, but does not have the Carapace upgrade yet. Plus 2 Carapace upgrade, and he's really gonna be starving. He's actually all inning. This is all in as it can get out of Zerg now. He doesn't have an infestation pit. He doesn't have his doesn't even have like full gas saturations going on. Like, he's really just banking. God, as he loses more, it's just banking on the fact of Blings and Banes, and anything in between can go right out the window, which is terrifying. That he's kind of banking on this, and it's got to the point that he's now he's trying to get as much background damage going on, and he actually spotted the fact that Maru is flying his main away, assumingly to the third base, or to what would be a traditional third base. This is a very, very dodgy position for Zerg to be in, because he's on the clock when it comes to 3-3 out of Terran's weapons and armor. Yeah, like, Lings are now, these are now going to be pretty mediocre Lings for quite some time, because they only have +1 armor and only +2 weapons. Gets a nice split with his Zerglings. Sees the doors open, getting a flood going on, finding some damage in. 16 workers, 18 workers are going down. A literal ball of balls of acid are rolling on in, but they are +3 bio armor, so it's not quite the amount of damage that he could typically get. Again, losing more to Bane, more of his expensive Mutalisks to the fucking Widow Mines and Thors. This is a very hard position to be playing from. Hive is now just being researched, and I think this is game. This is gonna be game. He cannot defend this. Yeah, the Bio Ball is too great. Thor's Javelin missiles are a little too strong. Banelings rolling around, rolling back. I think the Marines are being picked up. Marauders are being sacked for the Blood God, and we're now again in a full, bit of a, actually just more of a calculated retreat. Maru got quite a bit of damage off, deciding that he can just go home, remax, really. Yeah, I mean, that +3/3 is just so powerful for Terran. It really puts Zerg in its place. God, he's just getting more Mutalisks. There is a certain point where the shrimps are not very healthy for you, just like in real life. Are we beginning to see a bit of a push? Can't get that trigger. Okay, I think he killed it with the. I think we got the kill off with the Baneling detonations. The Marauders are just putting in so much value, just denying land, denying Baneling the surface area to push through. But a lot of workers are going down on Terran's side. Doesn't really matter as much when we're in a killing blow position for Zerg. He's going to die very soon to this. It's, yeah, you know, you're showing your house. You're showing your house to an intruder, and oh, we're just losing all the workers. This is so desperate. Can't even begin to upgrade. This is not looking. This is looking very much Despacito for the Zerg. Even these backstabs, as much as useless as they really are looking, it's even worse when you think about how much damage is just being given to him. God, he's even trying to pee on Maru. I guess he's trying to establish dominance, but when you just have that much bio ball, being pissed on is more of a fetish than an actual problem. And like I said, GG. Dark loses. Even floated. Yeah, this was a very crazy game. Sapphire. I'm pretty sure this map is Terran favored. The narrow chokes, there's a lot of narrow chokes on it. It sets up a lot for mech play, at least on the EU West and the NA ladder. It's been a lot of mech play. So Ricky has some place to shine in this particular map. However, there is a caveat. The map is not symmetrical at all. It's actually very asymmetrical, especially with the fact that there's a gold base at the bottom left-hand side of the map. And on top of it, the map doesn't split evenly with the creep. There's the rocks that actually deny the straight and narrow path. Really put Zerg on a bit of a contingency on if they want to be very as a very knife throwing player, or if they're going to be more having to go around through their third, or what I'm assuming is going to be a third, just below them. In this particular map, especially, it's very good for ghosts because they're because of how narrow the thing is. They don't have to worry about being backstabbed by banelings, even if it's a bio play. Really, it should be bio and transitioning mech. I think a lot of it's going to happen on this particular map in the future. And currently, right now, it's a very calculated scouting out of Dark for how he wants to deal with Maru, since Maru has a history of being a little proxy boy and never playing at home like an honorable Terran, as Artosis might want us to believe. But no shenanigans out of Dark this game from what we can see. Yeah, looks like he's just setting up some camera locations as we see here. Very, again, this is all very rigid, almost cookie cutter-esque. Decides to get two pairs of lings. This is a pretty typical play out of it. You see a lot of players on ladder go 6 lings, but 4 is a very conservative number. You obviously get 1 extra worker, and you can trade that out for the faster hatchery. It really does add up quite a bit, almost. What's interesting is he hasn't designated the third army rally point, the third base rally point, army rally point, to meet up with his there we go. It was interesting because he actually set up a thing for it originally. I was curious if that was going to be playing into an effect, but apparently not. However, we haven't seen any Reaper play, which is very strange. Even Maru has a little bit of an addiction to using the Reaper to deny creep tumors, but we haven't seen any of that at all, really, from some of the games. I think we've only seen about 1 or 2. But spots the 3rd CC, or sees that it's a 3rd CC build, and so he's clearly in a position that he feels safe enough that he can just hit the D key, S and D. So this is actually going to be a very, very, very greedy play out of Dark to answer Maru's raise. Queens are now in production as well. So he is actually. I'm trying to keep track. I've been trying to figure out about how he uses his queens. He keeps his queens. He has creep queens. Does that make sense? Like the queens that are designated for creeping, and then he has some at home for at least early on, that he keeps some at home for the injections. However, as the game goes on, he does eventually just pull them all out. And as we see here, he does have time to reflect and deflect his opponent's Hellion. Sees that the 3rd one was coming out, so I think he's a little curious about what's coming out of Maru today, since this is one of the earlier games. And honestly, it's very interesting because he doesn't pull out a gas as well. He's keeping on gas to continue his technology, and I think it's very clear he's going for 1-1 as fast as physically possible. I do think if he's doing that, weapons melee first. I actually find that really interesting. Instead of getting the carapace upgrade, like, immediately. I guess he wanted to do it all in time or in more synchronized fashion. I'm sure that small difference doesn't add up as much, but I do have the idea of, like, if you can get that +2 carapace as fast as possible, it'll pay itself. It pays itself faster, especially if there's a timing attack. I'm probably wrong with that, as again, a smooth diamond brain. And we see that he's casually expanding onto a 4th. Zerg obviously wants to take as much as possible without the most cost of army. And so, especially that he sees that it's a 3cc, he's really just saying, fuck it, I can just take as much as I need to. And he hasn't even been challenged that much. I mean, a Hellion here and there, nothing, like genuinely nothing. And he's just gassing up and larvaing it out. Yeah, so as we see here, he's just casually using camera hotkeys to put in his injections. And he keeps one for each location, and then the rest is on, and then he keeps the rest on his house. On his, on his lawn, really. So yeah, +1/+1/1 is already basically there. He is. What's very interesting, he's opening up the rocks as well. Centrifugal hooks is on the way. 1/1 is pretty important for Zerg, because as long as Zerg can stay on top of upgrades, their units provide more value. +2 is just starting as well. +2 should be starting as well, again with the carapace. Like, yep, there we go. So he is actually pretty much on top and equal, which is more or less ahead of Terran's value. He actually forces an attack, but because Maru wanted to go for an attack at the same time, his hit much sooner. Maru was forced to pull back, and that +1 melee is going to pay itself even more so because of the damage that he's putting onto that command center. And yeah, that was very, very good timing. I guess he had a feeling of when stuff was coming in if it wasn't there before. Doesn't take any real damage on his base. And now he gets to... Oh, Centrifugal Hoof is done. And gets 5 workers. That hurts. That's a cherry on top. That was a very nice pickup out of him. Yeah, that was... not much else to say, except that was a very good anti-timing. You know, he had a feeling about... I guess he probably had a hunch that there was a push coming in onto his 4th. I know that was a very common timing that happens, but to make an anti move on that is a very, very, very nice choice. I think actually that comes along to be a little bit more stylistic. I think even Raynor does a lot of anti-timings with that. Although his is not even as an answer. It's more of Raynor does it as a way of being a little bit on top of his opponents, since he plays a lot like Maru in the sense of taking a brick wall and throwing or beating people down with bricks. A very fast-moving brick. And yeah, Maru is not really behind, but he is forced to. Maru is now kind of having to play around the fact that he's playing against 3 to 4 on his bases, and he has to move more decisively at denying land. Yeah, he's being backstabbed currently as he's trying to push in. Some mines getting some fat damage off, but he is able to split in time. While he's pushing onto Terran's house, he is trying to make a push. Yeah, Maru just took way too much damage from those 2 pushes, and he was going to be deflected. That was very well played out of Dark. game of the series. However, I decided to be a special snowflake when I grabbed the replays and didn't realize that. We have Waterfall, a ludicrously short map. Like, if you're playing against a Terran and you want to really punish them for 3CCing or something, you can 5 roach, hit them so fast, and they're going to be forced to either lift off, or they're going to be you're going to ruin a lot of their time while not taking any economic damage on your half. So, Waterfall is unique in the sense that it's a very small map, which the rush distance obviously becomes a very big factor. And what makes it better is there's not a lot of bases. It's a very scarce resourced map. You're going to end up fighting tooth and nail for the opposite corner maps, or opposite side of the map for your spawning location. You're going to be fighting very, very fiercely for it, and specifically for the purple gases there. Those obviously give a little bit extra resources. First game, we see a very standard play out of Dark. He's going gas expansion, or sorry, hatch expansion gas into a pool. You know, the boring bread and butter of the StarCraft game. And quite frankly, this is going to be the game that should have set the tempo off. However, I did it way in reverse and got to watch a Proxy 2 Rax turn into a Fiesta. But live and learn, I guess you can say. This particular map in general has a very strange pillar spot since it's off to the left side of the natural. However, you're risking a lot by going straight there. Like, you'll see a CC first, sure, but you're actually giving up the possibility of scouting if it's a 2-2, if it's a 2-1-1 or not. That obviously is a much bigger problem in the those types of risks in pro play, not really in ladder play. But again, though those are smaller caveats. And for example, we just spotted the Reaper. In particular, even though it's kind of like expected, it's expected in the sense that it's so mundane that it's more of a you could probably live without knowing that. Yeah. So Dark actually has a very good habit of getting his worker off right before the Reaper shows up, or really any warrior would show up, so that he can get that third faster and without contesting, forcing queens to fight and really not do their job of being leisurely. And what's more important is this is very bad. Dark has a very serious habit of doing this, of being a little too aggressive with his Reaper. He actually gets punished a lot in his pro games. I think it's like almost 55% of the time he gets slapped on the wrist for it in some way or form, either not getting the creep tumor because he was trying to pick off a Ling or a drone and didn't have enough time, or wouldn't get the HP enough to trade out, or as we just saw there, he gets punished quite badly and loses his Reaper and loses his only form of early scouting. And this actually gives a lot of free reign for Dark. He can actually just sit back and just drone very heavily now, and if he really wanted to, he could even start throwing in a few extra Lings. Not for any defensive reasons, but it does allow him to have a deflecting amount for Hellions that might come in, and then a small pack for backstabbings. Again, though, those are stylistic choices out of the players. Yeah, but as we do see, he's just continuing to drone up like crazy. This is a very powerful position that he's in. Just addressing things that get picked off, such as the creep tumors, which are right now the only thing that Maru is even able to do. I think he's playing conservatively from what the information that we have. Like, he only made like a pair of Hellions or one, or maybe even one, really, of the race cars. And so far, the information just says it's the one. So, but this is actually very, very unique, as we continue to see that Dark doesn't do the traditional wall in that outside the natural that we see. Decent scout, not really much decent actually. He does know his 3 CCs, but he doesn't see like a wall in. But Dark doesn't actually put his tech or his upgrade buildings at the natural of second base. I'm actually curious why that's such a stylistic choice. I haven't seen a ZVP in quite some time, so I don't know if that's the case as well. I'm going to assume not, because it's pretty important to have chokes in that particular matchup. But he does have a tendency of keeping them together, which is always a very strong positive in case you forget to hockey, unlike him. And so he's still constantly trying to get some information by slipping Zerglings in, which is cute. I do think he could be sacking an Overlord or two if he gets Numeric Carapace, but again, he's the far better player and probably doesn't want to sack that gas yet. Fourth base is finally going up as well, and he's really, at this point, Zerg is just in a position where they're not worrying about, like, he's he's oversaturated some of his bases only because they're just going to get, it's going to even out pretty quickly. Oh, he actually spots the drop, so he keeps his Overlords. He actively keeps his Overlords slightly in front of the creep, so that he can see what's in front of him. Like, literally in front of him. It's very interesting. I think that's something that I'm going to be attempting to emulate myself quite a bit. So yeah, he doesn't even play fast like Dark, but what he does do differently is the fact, if you look at his base saturations in all the games, he doesn't take his natural gas. He takes his first and his third base. His second gas is always a little bit later, and I'm not 100% sure why. I think it has to do with mineral resource transferring. And wow, what a brilliant man! Knew exactly that a drop could be dancing about, and he has 2 Spore Colonies set up to deflect it. +1 melee is finished, +2 is already on the way, +2 Carapaces as well are going to be upgrading very soon. However, I still find it very interesting. He's now going in for a backstab. He sees that there's a push coming in, and so, especially that this is the game of the day that started it all off, he's getting quite a lot of information. And on top of it, he actually has a lot of leverage against Maru because he has +1 complete, and Maru does not. Maru's about to finish like right at the second, but that is a difference because that was another anti-timing attack where Maru was preparing a push with his 1/1 stim, combat shields, and some tanks to help follow up, and it was denied way before it was going to happen. Between the 16 drop being deflected by a pair, by like 4 or 5 queens, and 2 colonies, to being backstabbed quite fast. Also now beginning his research, his burrow, halfway done really. Gets the cancel off, that's always important as well, and centrifugal hooks are about to finish as well. Centrifugal hooks are obviously one of the most important upgrades for banelings in general, besides melee upgrades. But yeah, this is a very, very, almost a textbook practice of how to approach ZVT if you wanted a player to emulate or to practice, and with that in mind. He's using his camera hockey locations. This is actually the game where he's really demonstrating his hockey locations. The other games, there was just so much candy fodder going on that he wasn't even able to do his injects, but he was just so ahead that the macro machine was taken over at that point. So he has 2 pairs of armies, except this is one's a control click, and this this is one's a control group, and the other one is actually, I'm pretty sure, just a dragon click, which is a little interesting that he doesn't separate them quite well. Maru's trying to dance around, trying to find a spot to drop and hit the banelings probably on the army, but Dark is just playing so immaculately in this particular game, probably before the taxing effect kicks in from playing 7 games straight. At this point right now, Maru is pretty behind. +2 weapons is done for Zerg. +2 Carapace is also done, and we're still like 10-15. Jesus Christ, we're still about 15-20 seconds out on +2 bio Terran weapons. Yeah, this is another example of Dark playing the player, not the game, as we saw from how he deflected a lot of the earlier aggression in this particular match on Waterfall. Very, very well done. And the boys are in the house, and I guess he's just eating it away. So, GG. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you appreciate that. If you have tips, let me know.